Because you really have done the work, and I know you've immersed yourself into this. And even when there are bumps along the way, because there are rumble strips, when you change your identity, when you change your belief system, when you change the whole way that you live your life, because you
have never experienced this level of happiness.
I talked about the analogy of having these elastic bands that are attached to you.
But I just felt like something was missing. That kind of blew up the box in my mind. Kind of like, how could I not tell people about this? Hey guys, so I'm really excited about my first guest on the channel. Her name is Jill Sutherland. She's been my spiritual coach since the end of August of last year, 2025. And I can't talk enough positive things about Jill. So I'm really excited to have her on the channel here and to have her talk a little bit more about what brought her to spirituality and what she learns in her journey. And we're just going to have a conversation about how we both came into this spiritual space, and it's going to be a great conversation. So welcome, Jill, to the channel.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well.
And so Jill, I'd be curious to hear about what you used to do. What was your job and work life like before spirituality, and how did you end up coming to this place?
Thank you, Nathaniel. So I've been very spiritual all my life. I knew when I was very young, like you do, that I was here to help people, and always felt a sense of connection to spirit or source. And then when I was about 17, I studied philosophy, metaphysics, and different elements of philosophy, some bits of neuroscience, psychology as well. And I think it's always been part of who I am. In fact, it's a really big part of who I am. And then life takes over, the materialistic world. And I went into management consulting, and, I went through life building a career. And I think it depends also on your location. I was in Edinburgh and London, so it was a lot of financial services, and I had a great time. I flew all over the world. I made lots of money. I, traveled first class, business class, stayed in nice hotels, and it felt amazing for my ego. It was so good because I come from a little town in Scotland, and my ego was very happy, and my soul kept saying, "What are we doing here?" So there was always something inside me that knew I wanted to do more for people. And I ended up studying a course with a guy called Peter Sage, and he was fantastic. The course was amazing. I absolutely loved it, and it was right up my street because it was about metaphysics, manifestation, mastering your mindset, relationships, and everything. And I worked with Peter on the team for years and traveled all over the world with him as well. And there was something inside me that wanted to create a course of my own. And I created Maxit along with one of Peter's other students. And as you know, Maxit is an amazing course. And I absolutely love doing this work, not just Maxit, but also the one-to-one guidance and meetings that I have with people to really understand what is happening in their life and to connect. And I think the main thing it's taught me is a sense of oneness with people, a sense of non-judgment and understanding, and probably very humility as well. And also, as you know, I mean, there's so much, isn't there? There really is so much we can talk about.
There's a lot we could say. Maxit is how I found Jill. So it's funny how source, the universe, kind of rearranged everything for us to meet. I'll get more into that later, but go ahead.
But I would love to hear, about you and, your journey into this as well.
Oh yeah. Well, where do I start? Well, like you, I kind of knew intuitively that I was meant to be in the helping professions, like always had an interest in psychology when I was a little kid. Even in um, middle school, high school, my friends used to call me the therapist in the group because they felt
Okay.
like I could really like listen to everybody's problems, or I was easy to talk to. And even in elementary school with my beanie babies, I used to make them do therapy on each other in the 90s before I even had any idea of what therapy was. And so, yeah, long story short, I went to school to be a therapist, got a bachelor's and a master's degree in mental health counseling. And then I found rational emotive behavior therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy, although REBT, the rational emotive behavior therapy, I liked the best. And like me, I don't do anything halfway. So I'm like, oh, I like this. Well, I'm going to go to the Institute, which is also in New York, the Albert Ellis Institute in New York City, where I live, and go all the way to the end. So I did a 3.5 year associate fellowship where I got trained to be an REBT and CBT therapist and supervisor. I started training therapists internationally in REBT, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I just loved the model. My clients really liked it, and it felt like I was going to be doing it probably forever.
Yeah.
And it wasn't till maybe the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, I just felt this calling to do more, but I didn't really know what that was about. And I knew I liked therapy, but I just felt like something was missing. And so, um, long story short, I had a couple of cycles of plant medicine, and
Yeah.
that kind of blew up the box in my mind about like what consciousness is capable of, and
Yeah.
this kind of REBT box that I had been putting myself in for a while. And so I started studying higher levels of consciousness, first learning about, psychedelic therapy. And then I just kind of, like YouTube University, you get like one video that's like kind of about psychedelics, and then it goes to like manifestation. And it's just so funny how YouTube just kept feeding me all of these videos. And so I started learning about manifestation. Um, and I it made a lot of sense, but it was kind of spiritual, but then kind of scientific. And then I realized there was so much quantum physics and science supporting a lot of the energetic spiritual stuff, which is really cool because I love therapy and I love science. So I started testing it on myself and it started working.
Mhm.
And then it was right around that time that your colleague through Maxit's video found me on the YouTube. And
Yeah.
so I started watching his videos and then reached out to do Maxit. And then I met with Jill and did the Maxit program. And now I'm like completely all in, with the energy stuff, and to the point where I started manifest therapy at the end of last year, which is a
Yeah.
manifestation coaching program, and completely changed my career around what I learned because I realized with therapy it was really helpful to help change our thinking to change the way that we feel. But now with the laws of energy, why just adapt to the system when we can transcend it in consciousness? What a funner, more creative, expansive way to navigate life.
Yeah.
And so now if I look back just a year ago, I'm almost like a different person. It's just so funny how things change incredibly fast.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest change
Mm.
since we met?
So much. Oh gosh. Um, where do I even start? So much has changed. I think I realized how much I was holding on to things
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
trying to control things. And I realized that REBT was good about helping me not disturb myself about the things I was holding on to,
Mhm.
where Maxit and manifestation taught me that letting go is the quickest way to magnetize whatever I wanted towards me.
Mhm.
And so there was like a lot of letting go. And I was a happy kid, a happy adult for most of my life. But I have never experienced this level of happiness. And so I think this is probably the biggest takeaway is, in psych, we talk about how the variations of negative emotions, like you could be a little bit irritated and homicidal. Like that's a huge variation of anger, right? But how
Yeah,
little we talk about, we could be a little bit content or we could feel so much bliss
yeah.
and joy and peace that it's like I'll be walking down the street. I tell my clients that sometimes I think we're past the crazy label at this point, but or the way that the sun's hitting my face or the wind's blowing and I'm walking down the street, I feel like I could almost cry. It's like a
Yeah.
connection to everything. I feel so powerful and so in control by letting go of control that it's like an indescribable level of peace and happiness that I haven't ever experienced in my life. So that's
Oh,
the
that's
biggest.
yeah, that's big, and it's so amazing because you really have done the work, and I know you've immersed yourself into this. And even when there are bumps along the way, because there are rumble strips, when you change your identity, when you change your belief system, when you change the whole way that you live your life, there are rumble strips, undoubtedly.
Mhm.
But you got through them and then you've come back every time you've done that, you've got stronger. And we also talked about the analogy of having these elastic bands that are attached to you and you can go so far and then, you can't go any further and then one snaps and you can go a bit further.
Yeah.
And that feeling of, you know, just before you break through, you're almost stuck.
Mm.
But if you keep
Yes.
going, it breaks and then you can keep going. And I know the other analogy that you used was about the mud and pouring water in. And eventually, it feels muddy, it feels confusing, and then it starts to clear again. And this is, we talk about the law of continuity, the law of chaos. When you change the levels that you're operating and thinking at, the levels of consciousness. So if anybody hasn't seen it, the map of consciousness is fascinating.
Yeah,
And once
Dr.
you know how to work, yeah, once you know how to work with it, it changes your life because it's not just a kind of calibration system to look at. It's one that you can live with and live by and share, share those amazing feelings. And you as well talking about, I know you've said in the past that you've had these feelings of bliss,
Mhm.
even doing simple things like being in your house
Mhm.
and using that energy with clarity and knowing what you want to create. I know you've had some miracles along the way and so many signs as well. You asked for signs and then, right outside your office is a big sign about something that you want to do.
Oh, the fashion and psychoanalysis,
Yeah.
which for the
Yeah.
listeners, I love clothes and I love psychology, and I was thinking about how to compare the 2, and I'm literally walking to my office, and FIT, had a sign for fashion and psychoanalysis literally outside of my door. It was like the universe was like, "Go here and get some inspiration." So I went, but yeah, it's so funny how, like, I built a whole career around rational thinking as the REBT guy, and now it's a
Yeah.
whole other thing,
Yeah.
the emotional mind, learning
Yeah.
that online. But tell me about what's the biggest change that you've gotten in your life, Jill, from, um, learning everything about energy and manifestation?
Oh, it's like you said, there's so many
Yeah,
things
where do you
because
even start?
I know my life has changed so much. I think for people on the outside looking in, they will see somebody who is very loving, very balanced, very calm. Um, I genuinely love people. I really genuinely care. And that's the driver for me. But internally, um, I think the biggest thing has to be mastering your own mindset, and dealing with situations in such a calm way. I don't get upset with things very easily, maybe once or twice a year. So it doesn't matter what happens, I stay really calm. Um, from the things that are going through my head are things that are tiny, things that are big. I just have this sense of calmness. I mean, as you know, my whole life is changing just now. I'm selling a house, I'm buying a house, I'm moving country all within the next month, and nothing is set in stone yet. And I just think, okay, this is the adventure and it's all going to be fine. And I've just got this sense of calmness that's just, I think before I would have just freaked out because it's like we
Can you
need
imagine
certainty. I
without
know,
the skills we had,
I know,
the things that we've been through, the storms we've been through, like, what I
yeah,
would have done if I
I
didn't know
know,
about this,
I
it's, like,
know.
insane.
It's crazy. And I'm just like, okay, I realize I've got like less than 1 month to move myself to Edinburgh and all the rest of it and, do all the things. But I think it's just this inner sense of peace that is there. It's not always there because as I have a rumble strip too. And sometimes I have to, reframe things because sometimes it's easy to think, oh, I'm scared of something or I don't want to do this because we're human. And it's a growth experience. It's not linear, it's growth centric life. And that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to test us, to challenge us, to push us so that we can move on with the things that our soul wants to do. But as you know, there's part of our ego or part of our kind of human side that wants to just keep us fixed somewhere, keep us safe, keep us down, keep us scared. If there's all these different elements that come in to keep us in the position of not putting our head above the parapet or so yeah, I think it's given me just like you say, you just get a really beautiful feeling from it. And I see other people with such benevolence now. There's no judgment, there's no anger, there's just observation. Even myself, the self-awareness for me has been incredible.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, was there that one thing where you had that spiritual breakthrough where you realized this was real? I don't know if there was a point when you kind of maybe had a sense that there was something out there, but then there was one thing you manifested or one skill or situation where it snapped, where you're like, "Wait, this
Yeah.
is actually like."
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to
The
hear what that was for you. Yeah.
um so throughout my whole life, I've known I was a bit psychic or I could create things um that I wanted to create, in reality. Um so there's all different elements of that. Um but there's also the big things as well. When I did Peter's course, because my brain was fired back up into the metaphysical realm and stuff, I did his course and I thought, I want to work with them. I want to be part of this. And I know I manifested that job. I absolutely manifested it. And I visualized meeting Peter. I visualized working for him. And I think within a few months, I actually was part of the team. And I met Peter. I sent him a message. Don't want to talk all about Peter, but that was big. That was a really big
Shout out
catalyst
to Peter
time.
Shit Sage.
Yes. We should get him on here one day.
Thank
But
God that you went to him so that I got to go to you to get the
yes,
message. So, like, and now I
yeah,
get to give it to the next, pass
that's
the baton on to the next person, right?
yeah. But it's pay it forward. But I think during that as well, I manifested so many different things. Like I manifest all the time. I manifested a beautiful flat in Alicante when every other one was terrible. And people are like, "How did you do it? You need to teach me the manifesting," because most of my friends know. Um,
He lives in Spain, by the way, although that might
yes,
change.
yes, I live in
I'm sorry
Near
about that.
Alicante. So yeah,
Indeed.
I think it's definitely always been there. I've always felt this deep connection, but I play around with that a lot more. But even things like Parking Angel, my Parking Angel, she's so good. I have a travel angel.
Yes.
Um, so there's all these guides that are helping us all the time, and I know you are the same. And
My luck
yeah,
dragon with the train, which I'll tell you about in a second, because that was my breakthrough is silly as it might
yeah,
sound. I'm
tell
sorry.
her. No, go on, yeah, I'd love to hear about it.
Oh, well, I live in New York City, so I think Oh, for all of you listeners, you're going to be hard pressed to find a single person that likes the MTA here. It's probably one of our biggest sources of stress and aggravation with it being delayed, not coming on time, staying underground. It's noisy, it's crowded, it's smelly, it's gritty. It's all the things, right? So when I was learning manifestation, I had to start something small. So I was like, okay, to start, what I'll do is the trains, because there was a possibility the train could come on time, but knowing how they run in New York, it's still a little bit having to go into the metaphysical. And
Yeah,
so I just kind of started envisioning the train coming on time. Every morning I would go to work and I would leave at different hours of the day, and I didn't look at the apps to see when the train was coming beforehand. But I also had to try to find a way to being in neutrality. So I was like, okay, I trust the trains will come on time, that they're coming on time this morning, but I'll be happy no matter what. And so thinking of what I could do to be happy. And then the first day I did that, I have an elevator that I have to go down all the way to get to the train, which is kind of a pain in the ass because of the train at the station. You're like, come on, elevator, I want to go. I just can't run down the stairs. Um, and I got off the elevator and the train was coming right into the station. So I got on, and then of course my rational brain was like, yeah, 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 that was just a coincidence, a one-off. Don't think anything about it. Well, then I did it the next day. I just trust that the train is going to come on time and pick me up without much of a wait, and I'll be happy no matter what. Happened again and again,
yeah,
again, and again. So then my rational brain was like running out of excuses of how that could logically follow. And this is the fun thing about, and the challenging thing about manifestation is, it's like our belief has to be bigger than the physical reality. Most people say, I'll believe it when I see it. It's like, no, you got to believe it first and then you see it. It's the other way
yes,
around. So
yeah,
I started upgrading it. It's like, okay, I'm going to get on the train on time and get to work on time, no matter what time I leave in the morning. And I'm also going to get a seat on the train. And
yeah,
so the universe or source, like I call it, I could tell was kind of messing with me because it would be rush hour. So the train was coming on time. I got that down. But then when I wanted the seat, my rational brain, because when the train comes in, you see people standing up holding the bar, it's that packed. My rational brain's like, dude, you're not going to get a seat.
yeah.
But I'm like, no, somehow,
I'm
some
gonna do
way,
it.
a seat's going to appear. So it was really testing like how much I believed in it. And then my
Absolutely.
intuition was like, go on that car or go into this one. So I'd follow,
Yeah,
and I would get on, and a woman would immediately get up out of her seat as soon as I got on the train, or a man or a kid or whoever.
yeah,
And that kept happening. It's like, holy shit, the train's coming on time every morning for 3 months. And
yeah.
now I'm getting a seat every single morning where I can read my book, regardless of how busy it is. And then it was like, this is actually real. Like,
Oh,
okay, what else can I manifest? And then, I try to do things bigger and bigger. And then those started coming in exactly the way that I had imagined them weeks prior, some of the bigger stuff. And then the rest was history. It's like, well, how the hell can I just go back to being an REBT therapist after knowing I could just attract whatever I want in consciousness? Like,
yeah,
that's like a mic drop moment. Like,
so
how could I not tell people about this? It's
yeah.
wild.
It's amazing, and I think the thing that upsets me is that most people have no idea that this actually works.
Oh,
There are
real.
so many people waking up now, but there's also so many people who just have no idea that you can influence things with a positive mental attitude, with clarity.
Mhm,
A strong identity is something that we had talked about as well when you were changing your identities.
mhm,
And it's so important, they say that people can't rise above the opinion they have of themselves. So I say, have
mhm.
a higher opinion of yourself, change it, change what you believe about yourself, because that is the key.
Yes.
And the other thing, you mentioned as well about intuition. And this is a massive thing that we have fun with, isn't it? It's trusting your intuition on so many things,
Internal
you know, and about
GPS, you taught me.
yes, yes, and tuning in, and I do it all the time, and I almost tune into the feeling of the future. So there's 2 ways you can do it, but one of the ways I know whether something's gonna happen or not is tuning in to the feeling I'll have at that time. And I don't just mean happy or sad, it's like I knew in January that something was gonna come out of left field March or April time, and I told people that. I says, "I don't know what it is, but I know it's gonna come out of left field, and it's something I just wasn't expecting, and it's this job, you know, I'm gonna move countries."
Mm,
So that really came out of left field, and I knew something was going to,
yes.
and I knew the emotions would be mixed because I'm super excited about the role, but I also knew there was gonna be an element of the old identity kind of thing now, you know, what does that mean for who I am just now? So I think the intuition of, you know, tuning in, like you say, which carriage will I go into? But really, you know, listen to your intuition, everybody, and trust it because it guides you. If you let it, you
Mm,
will learn to distinguish between what your inner guide is saying and what your inner voice is saying. There is a difference. I mean, I don't know how you would explain it, but I know we both channel
yeah.
and we can hear there's a difference between the messages that we get and our inner kind of, you know, our identity voice or our own voice, isn't there? I mean, how would you explain it?
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that on, and also for the viewers, it just started with the train. Now I'm channeling, like, what a huge, a huge leap in, learning what this mind can do, it's like, I would consider the inner guide or the higher self, is kind of where I feel nudged to do things, or it sounds like it's a voice that's not my own, but it's in
Yeah,
my own mind,
yeah,
where I know it's my shadow if it's loud and obnoxious. Oh my God, this person's going to screw you over, or this person's going to take advantage of you. This person, the inner guide isn't a drama queen, It's just like, this just doesn't feel right. I know if I'm like, have all these catastrophic thoughts about it, that's probably my shadow talking rather than the higher self. Um, but yeah, just like Jill was talking about with her, parking angels and stuff, I created in consciousness like a luck dragon with the train. So it's not a literal dragon that I see flying out of the sky that I jump on, although that would be wonderful and a better way to get to work, But as long as it doesn't charge me the $3 fare, but it'd probably still be worth it. But it's kind of imagining that this metaphysical being that I create in consciousness and trusting and surrendering over to that is going to get me a seat on the train, and the train's going to come on time. And because I believe that that is reality, then that becomes my reality. So
Yeah,
you can, there's really no limit to the co-creative power
absolutely.
of manifesting. And people think that that's crazy. No, if I'm on the 25th floor of my office right now. If I go jump out the window thinking the dragon's gonna catch me, that's bad crazy. It's a good crazy to think of a dragon getting me, a seat on the train and the train running on time, and then that comes. That's a
Yeah,
good one. So, so there's lots of different things that our brains are capable of in consciousness, but because of the indoctrination that all of us have been getting with the scarcity mindset that money doesn't grow on trees, there's the haves and the have-nots. You have to work really hard to get what you want. You have to get a job. You have to do this. You have to do that. Or there's just been so much unconscious programming of limitation from culture, from family,
yeah,
whatever, that we're not really taught what our brains are actually capable of. We have to kind of go to mystery schools or the buried research on the in the quantum physics realm or whatnot, because there's no money to teach people how to be free and sovereign by
mm,
manifesting whatever you want when you can
yeah.
sell people
It's
scarcity, and then you need
yeah,
something outside of yourself, like
absolutely. Yeah, the silent security and
politicians.
yeah, and I think I see it so often now. You know, when you detach from the kind of the way the world is played, you know, it's like a game.
Mhm.
And when you look at situations like Facebook, for example, the amount of indoctrination and is and programming, it's
Yes.
relentless. You know, being a woman, I see so much, it's just non-stop criticism of women and how they look, and she's got a wrinkle, and she's this, and she's that. And what shocks me the most is how many women join in to tear other women down.
Oh,
I find it so shocking. I find it shocking that men do it. I find it shocking that society encourages it, but for women to really to do that as well. And I think that's part of the work that we have to do is to bring people's energy back up and to work
yes.
together and to unite much more and don't be pulled into the criticizing and the gossip and the news, stay away from it and your mindset will change because you do become programmed by it. Your environment beats your will. If you
Yes.
keep subjecting yourself to negativity through whatever media, your brain will look for more negativity to reinforce the beliefs that it's starting to create, and your world becomes much more negative. But one of the most beautiful things I think, as well, of the journey we've been on is looking for the beauty in people and places and experiences like you did. You went to a bar and you said you went in with a very different mindset and you had an amazing night
And that bar
because
was
you
really low vibration, by the way.
yeah.
So if I could turn that around in consciousness, let me tell you, I went in there and I got looked up and down immediately when I walked through the front door. I was like, "Oh, goody, this will be a good time." All right, universe, let's see how we can turn this around. I'm not going to judge people internally. I'm going to compliment people genuinely. I'm going to imagine what I want to happen. And as the night went on, it got better and better. And that's the thing that, you
Yeah.
know, but Jill and I are saying you can have anything that you want in consciousness. It is 100% real. It's not woo woo. It's not pie in the sky. Anything you want. I started testing. Oh, I want to go on a date, and I started picturing the guy in my mind, and my intuition said, "Go to Equinox NoHo. Go to Equinox NoHo." And I was like, "Why would I go there?" Okay,
Yeah.
I go there. Nothing happens. So I go, "Okay, source, you
What
sent me
was
here.
it?
I know there was a reason. Whatever." And then, I go to a birthday party a couple days later, and I'm hanging out at the birthday party, and this good-looking guy comes up to me, and he goes, "Hey, my what's your name?" "Nathaniel. My name is such and such." I'm not gonna say his name in case he watches this video. He probably was watching this video. And he goes, "Were you at the NoHo Equinox 2 days ago? I thought you were really cute, and I was afraid to get your number." So maybe when I was there, I wasn't vibrating
Yes.
approachable energy, but I showed up. I got a number like that. Okay, what are the odds of that, you know?
Oh, you know.
Or if I want more money, I think, "Oh, I attract money in expected, unexpected places," and then I have clients coming in same day, new clients. I got the employee discount when I go out and get food. There's someone holding the door open. I get on the train for free. Someone buys me drinks that night. The Uber's reduced rate. It's just
Yeah.
all in one day, and it's like, "Holy shit, this works so powerfully." Like, and then if we're in scarcity, I mean, how could we remain in this scarcity mindset of holding on to all these things when we know anything lost can be replaced in consciousness? It just lets
Mm.
it's the ultimate letting go. It's like, well, if I can manifest whatever I want, then what's the point of holding on to, ooh, what if this person rejects me? Ooh, what if I don't get this job? Ooh, what if it's like,
Yeah.
well, there'll be something else more aligned waiting for me. And then there is something there more aligned waiting for me because I believe that that's the case. So life becomes so much more fun when you wake up every morning and you're like, what do I want to manifest today? What do I want to paint on the blank canvas? And then that gets painted every day. It's like every day is a gift. How good could it get? It's like
Yeah.
so much more fun living in this world than what I was doing previously.
Yeah, and it's lovely just to hear you talk about it and the energy that you emit when you talk about it and all the experiences that you've had. And I remember another client saying, there's so many things happening. He cannot put it down to being mere coincidences. It's not. And we know that because you can put
Yeah.
it to the test. And sometimes I do put it to the test. I remember selling a house before this one, and I got an offer in, and I said to the universe, okay, if I'm not supposed to sell the house. Show me an I was an eagle. It was an eagle. Show me an eagle. Um, and I thought, right, that's the message I'm sending to the universe because I need guidance here because I didn't know whether to sell it at that price or not. That same afternoon, I went to barbecue and somebody got their phone out and they showed somebody it. And my partner at the time, my ex-husband, says, "Look at what's on the phone." And I looked, it was an eagle. And I was like, "Ah, okay." And then I was driving in the countryside, saw another eagle in the same day. Then we drove to Granada and we were at the Science Museum the next day. And then behind the reception was a huge eagle. And I thought, okay, I get the message. I'm not supposed to sell it to them. And then just a
I
couple of
gotta
months
use that
later,
more often. I forget
yeah,
about that skill. That's awesome.
yeah, it's so cool. And then a couple of months later, somebody came in with an offer like 60,000 more or something. And it was just like, okay, so I think for people,
Wow.
learn to ask for signs. It doesn't have to be a big sign. Ask to see a feather on the floor. That's all. You can start with a coin, a feather on the floor. I mean, for me, I wanted something that is like, what are the chances of me seeing an eagle today or you seeing an eagle
And
today?
3, I think, in one day,
I
right?
know. So it was like, whoa, I get the message.
1 would have been a wake up, then
Yeah.
3, the universe is like, "Girl, I've tried
Yeah.
don't sell
Yeah.
it."
And I
Yeah.
think that's the thing, the universe, I think it enjoys fun. I really do
Very
think,
playful.
yeah, we're playing a game here. I really do think we're playing a game. Yeah, take it seriously. There's a lot of things that we have to do in the material world to survive and to thrive and, for relationships and everything, but also to have fun in life. And I think this is one of the most important things to teach people as well. This is an amazing experience, and it is also, of course, there's traumas, but you can change it, as we're saying, and you can have joy. And when you have joy, you manifest and you bring in joy in many different ways. So it's really to be much more aware of the state that you're in, the mental state that you feel and that you're sending out, because it makes a huge, huge difference. And if I could just say like one thing to kind of give you an analogy,
Of course,
if
yeah.
you walk along the street and you shout at everybody or you look angry, you're going to get shouted at back and people are going to give you anger. But if you go out and you smile at people and you give them nice energy, you get nice energy back. And the universe does that, but on a universal cosmic scale.
Yeah.
And as you know, it works. It really works.
It does. I mean, we could go all day about, all
I
the things we
know.
manifest. I know we've talked in private about it too, and it's like every week it's like, I'll talk about why I manifest or Jill, and it just kind of reinforces this to each other. And then with the clients I'm working with now, teaching them manifesting and the manifest therapy and doing the same thing, it's like to see their face light up. Wait, I'm actually a lot more powerful than I was taught. Like I am not a victim to circumstances. I'm not just a feather blowing in the wind. I can attract whatever I want in consciousness. It's like this level of sovereignty and freedom and empowerment that comes from that when we're no longer victims of what happens to us, that our outer world is just a reflection of our inner world, so the way out is in, right? So
Yeah.
if we're looking at our life and the things that we love in it, then that's a response, a reflection of our dominant vibration and focus in the
Yeah.
past. And what we don't like is a reflection of our dominant vibration of what we've been thinking and feeling in the past. So we can change that. So it's like, okay, well, if we don't like the physical reality, we have to imagine the reality that we want in present tense, living in the end. I think Neville Goddard put it, imagining it already happening, imagining as if it's already ours, connecting to that, feeling good, trusting in that. And when you focus on that 51% of the time and up, then it ends up coming in
Mhm.
exactly the way that I want. It's so the universe is so literal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know some people, say it's like a Lego factory and you go in and you send your kind of your Lego ideas. And some people say it's like a restaurant and you go in and you say clearly what you want. And I think that is key because I know some very talented people who don't have that clarity. They don't have, we call it a DCA, direct chief aim. It's like your overall objective of where you want to go in the next, 12 months or so. And I think when you have that clarity, you start to take aligned action and it gets you to where you want to be.
Yeah,
But if you
exactly.
don't have that clarity, you go into a restaurant and you're like, well, I don't really know what I fancy. Just bring me anything. It's not gonna, it's not gonna satisfy your life. And the same if you're in a ship and you're driving the ship and you just think, well, I don't really know where I'm gonna go. You don't get to
Anywhere
your
but here,
destination.
right?
Sorry?
Anywhere but here, but
Yeah.
how good are we at talking about ad nauseam what we don't want and how little people think about what they do, right? And, like, even in
Yeah.
coaching, it's like, "What do you want?" And a lot of people are like they're like frozen, you know?
Yeah.
The
And
question.
yeah. And I was speaking to somebody this morning, about what's happening in their life. And I think the other thing is some people don't want to change. And this is a whole, amazing subject in itself, about the different levels that we live our lives. So, you've got to me, by me, through me, and as me. When you're down in victim mode where everything happens to you and you feel like a victim and it's very hard to manifest from there. And
Yeah,
then you've got by me, which is a hustling grind, which is a lot of what entrepreneurs do, business people.
that was
And
me
then,
for a while.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's, a lot of us that are hardworking. And, from culturally, socially, we're told work hard and you'll be okay. And then you realize with the quantum field that it's actually, you have to do it in alignment. You really
Yes.
do. It has to be aligned. Otherwise, you're fighting against the flow of the river all the time.
And alignment is the ultimate cheat code. So, and how much time is saved and energy saved by just attracting outcomes rather than chasing them.
Yes.
I was really I've been interested in doing psychedelic retreats, and so I remember I was like, but no, before I even did that, I was we're always manifesting before we're aware it's manifesting. So we're always
Yeah.
manifesting the negative too. So
Yeah.
it could go either way. But I remember I was thinking of after my plant journeys, how cool it would be to do therapy in with psychedelics, and REBT therapy at the time. And then all of a sudden, I got an email from a ketamine assisted psychotherapy prescriber, just literally just popped into my email. And now I've been doing ketamine assisted psychotherapy um, along with coaching. And then I wanted to do retreats. So I was like, oh, I'd love to do ketamine retreats and so on and so forth. And I was just vibrating that, thinking about it, and connecting to it. And then I go to Thanksgiving, and my friend Chris is like, hey, can I invite my friend Emily? And I was like,
Yeah.
sure, invite her. And so we go and we're talking, and we laugh about this story now. But she just told me out of the blue, hey, I'm working in fashion and I've been thinking about doing a career pivot. I'm really interested in doing psychedelic retreats. And I was like, oh, me
Like,
too.
wait, what?
Like, what are the odds of that? Right. And so
Yeah.
we're like, let's go into business together. And then I started imagining the ideal place to do it and then that it would be affordable. And then Emily emails me a couple weeks ago, or no, text me, sorry. And she goes, hey, I know this person who's renting out their loft in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and blah, blah, blah. Just like, okay, great. We go. The girl's really nice, says, hey, I'm willing to cut you a deal so it's still affordable. The place is almost exactly the way that I had imagined it before I even knew that it existed.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, this is so much easier than if I were to just grind and hustle and try to force outcomes. Like, and just, of course, we have to take expired action, as you know, but it's like you just magnetize the right people, the right resources, the right opportunities to you, and then you just seize the moment. You can take all of that energy and time and condense it down
Yeah.
into a smaller amount. It's so much easier to work than if you're like, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to always be busy, I got to be always grinding. And the more we stress ourselves or attach to the outcome, this slower the process gets, the more friction, the more resistance comes online, and then we're just burnt out and exhausted and wake up in the morning like, I got to do that again.
Yeah. It's such a shame, isn't it? Because I don't think the human experience is supposed to feel like that. I
Yeah,
think we're supposed to feel a sense of joy. Obviously, there's things that happen, it's all part of the experience. But, there's so many opportunities to wake up and to see the beauty. and
Mhm.
to see the wonder of the world and to see it again through fresh eyes, to really look around. They talk about, stop and smell the flowers. But,
Mhm.
if I could say something to people about tomorrow, when you go about your day, look for really beautiful things and people and art and nature, and the machinery that we've got. When you're in your car, the wonder of the car, of the roads, and everything that started as somebody's dream. That everything that you see just started as an idea in somebody's head. And when you really think about it, it's completely mind blowing that everybody's dreams created everything around us.
Or nightmares, you know?
Yes.
Not to bring it to the shadow, but,
No, but it's true
a lot
though,
of nightmares going on out in the
Mm,
3D external world
absolutely.
right now.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day and about, how much um thinking of the word hedon sometimes with living in Spain. I forget English words. But it's like how much interest do we give to the things that are in the world that are negative? Are we being ignorant if we choose not to get pulled into them? Or are we actually manifesting better things because we're focusing on the positive? Everybody's going to have a different opinion on it.
Yeah. I find it like, it's hard to find that place of neutrality where a a like we're a passive observer of what's happening without
Mm.
emotionally engaging in it. Because I used to like politics a lot, and now I've kind of checked out because it was, like, really lower in my vibration. I couldn't even sleep
Yeah.
some nights after. I'm like, "Ah, I can't believe this is happening, blah." Um, so that's not worth it, but I'll look at, like, the headlines, or sometimes I'll watch
Yeah.
a little snippet here and there just to know what's going on in the world. Kind of view it like the polar plunge. I dive in real quick into the
Yeah.
ice water and get out real quick and just get what I need to get.
Absolutely.
And it's how do we even know what's real today anyway, right? But
Yeah.
but I'll be aware that it's something objectively negative, but I'm not giving over my power to feed the machine of the scarcity and the fear. Because then if we collapse that timeline and the quantum, okay, if we think of everything that's going on in the world that's scary and focus on that energetically, then we're energizing that with our attention. And then what happens when we're afraid? We need something outside of ourselves to come save us, which is, making an impulsive decision, giving our sovereignty or freedom over to some politician or whoever who's going to come on a white horse and save us, or to materialism or voting our rights away. So no good can come from fear
Mm.
unless we're in a literal life or death situation where the house is on fire and we need to run out. Other than that,
Yeah.
there's no need for me to energize that anymore. And we also kind of soothe the collective consciousness, because when things are really crazy, I would like to be that stoic kind of lighthouse in the storm.
Yeah.
Then if
I,
I'm running around just as crazy and unhinged as everyone else about it, even though that could be justifiable, what good
yeah.
am I to myself, to the world? Um, it- Vibrating that.
Exactly. And I think you're right. Fear creates fear. You
Yes.
know, you see these pranks as well that are a really good example of somebody screaming when they're next to people and everybody else screams and runs, and it's a really, I don't know why I find them funny, but it's like, it's a great example of, how fear spreads. But also, if you see people giggling, I don't know if you ever saw that thing where they were giggling on the tube. A woman was listening to something laughing and then somebody next to her started to giggle, and then the whole, like, the tube or the metro, everybody in the carriage was giggling, and the energy was so beautiful.
Mhm.
And that's just, when you see these small kind of snippets of humans in that environment, and it actually, it's not just there, it's the whole world. And that's the influence and the impact that we have with our thoughts. Thoughts have a vibration, they go out, people can hear it. And, what you said as well before was really important. I gave genuine compliments.
Mm,
People feel it when it's genuine because the energy is so different. If you give somebody a compliment and
mm,
it's not genuine, people think, "Oh, he seems nice, but there's just something, I don't know, something I just can't put my finger on it." Because the
Can't fake
body is
energy, right?
yeah, you can't because the body picks up. That's the other thing. Your body knows sometimes more than your mind does.
The heart, right?
Yeah, yeah, your body can feel it, your heart can feel it, and they've done so many different experiments. They did one with a deck of cards, and there was a pattern to winning, and they rigged the body up and the mind up, and internally, the body knew way before the mind actually took over for the pattern. And it's just fascinating. It's really amazing that tuning in to your heart and your body, it's so wise. I feel like it's the kind of innate long-term ancestral
Mm,
knowledge and knowing source in our body. And then you've got the mind that's been programmed by society, by television, by parents, by your environment. And,
yeah.
there's sometimes this kind of abrasion or, disconnect between the two. It can be it's so stark, contrastingly different sometimes.
What do you think is one of the biggest myths that people hold on to?
That they're not good enough, this imposter syndrome, this keeping people down, and the inner voice, the inner critic. People are wonderful. They've got so many incredible skills, and it's not, are you talented? It's, what talent do you have? And I
Yeah.
think that's something for people to really think about. What lights you up? What talent do you have in there? Yeah, I feel like it's so unnecessary and so kind of self-depreciating that we go around and think, I can't do that. I'm not going to be very good at that. And oh, they're judging me. I don't care what anybody else thinks anymore. Do what makes you happy. Dance in the street, do whatever you want to do, and try to give
Pop
up the
dance.
kind of, yeah, me too, the feeling of being judged. Just push it aside, even your own voice. And this is something, when I started to do the work, um, there was this inner critic telling me things. And I just thought one day, I just thought, you know what? Shut up. You have no idea what I'm capable of. And every time the inner critic said that, I replied with, no, shut up. You have no idea what I'm capable of. And eventually it just stopped.
Yeah,
So, what about you?
gotta tell it so I think the same thing, but in I guess my yeah, the same way I guess the way that I kind of, got to that we're all worthy is that we're all God in a bod, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I, grew up in in a religious family, at least my dad and my stepmother, and I think there's a lot of good things about
Mm.
Christianity and whatnot, but I felt kind of like there was this God out in the sky, and then there was just us mere mortals. I think that the biggest breakthrough I had, which was in the realm of self worth too, is that, we're all God, and
Mm.
there's a God in the sky, a metaphysical being, as you will, and a consciousness and energy, but we're all fractals of that, the universe experiencing itself through our unique physical experience. So we were all born into the world with amnesia of
Mhm.
where we came from and that we're actually divine co-creators, so that we had to discover it because we can't experience polarity in the physical world without knowing what it's like to feel disconnected from source or from the
Yeah.
universe. And so I realized that we all have worth and value because we're all God. And
Yeah.
so we are this whole hologram that I'm in, that you're in, that we're all in is created in consciousness. And so when we change the internal programming, then the outer program changes. And I realized that, wow, I'm actually a very powerful co-creator, but also is my neighbor and my clients and you and my
Yeah.
friends and my family. We're all source, or the universe or God, whatever you want to call it. So helping myself helps everybody, helping other people helps myself because we're
Mhm.
all fractals of the same thing. And
Yeah.
so I think the sooner that we all realize that we're all divine,
Mm.
the quicker um, life turns around by you know getting whatever we want in life and surrendering to source. Because as you know, we've talked about together, the what we want is our business to focus on, but the how it's going to
Yeah.
come in is up for the universe or source to make it happen. So it's like we're in control, but we're not. We're in control of what we get, but we're not in control of how it comes in or when.
Absolutely. I think that's such an important point, and one of the most important points is to set the intention
Yeah.
and don't worry about the how. I mean, you have to take aligned action to be able to allow it in, but to trust your intuition, and to just follow that guide, and let the universe wander and, you know, bring the whole thing together to coordinate things on a cosmic level. And, I genuinely believe behind the scenes, there's so much coordination goes on that it's not effort based. It's just, it exists, and it's a whole level of coordination for things like you and I to meet, and Nathaniel and I have a good laugh about how similar we are. And Nathaniel will say, "Oh, I was watching that." And I go, "Oh, I watch Wise Quotes." And he
I
watches the
was just
same
saying you were
thing.
going to
And
say
it's
wise
like,
quotes.
so we think
Shout
the
out to
same
wise
thing.
quotes. That woke me way up, that
Yeah.
channel.
And then there's other things as well, we like the ancient
Bashar.
aliens and
Yeah.
yeah, Bashar and,
I just
yeah,
put him
there's
on my Instagram the other day.
he's
People are getting a
so
kick
cool.
out
Yeah,
of him.
and, is it David Hancock as well, the guy
Dave,
that does the ancient
or is it Dan? No, Graham Hancock.
Graham, yes, so
Yeah, yeah.
we were both ended up finding out that we both watched him, and I don't really watch a lot of TV neither do you.
Me
So
neither.
we found out that we watch the things that we do watch in the whole wide world is the same kind of thing, so yeah.
Everything I had originally written off as being a conspiracy theory or woo woo is kind of back on the table. Some things I've put back on the table and then took off again, but a lot of it I'm like, okay, there's a lot more to the story than I thought. And using emotional resonance, right? Like what feels true when we're in higher consciousness is our truth. Of course, if I feel like 2 + 2 is 16, that's a different story, right? But when
Yeah,
we're talking about what feels true in terms of who I am, where I came from, where I'm going, that is our truth. And no one is to tell you whether that's real or not. That's up for you. And there's no harm in that, an identity
yeah,
and direction and alignment that comes from something bigger than the self. So we can choose to be misaligned or we can choose to find alignment, but we don't really get to choose, I guess, what's aligned. I think it's what our soul signed up for
yeah,
coming into this earth. And so we were called to the helping professions for a reason. Um, I know we talked about this off camera about quite a bit.
yeah,
So I'm going with it and I'm not really concerned whether people give me their stamp of approval or a thumbs up. And here's the funny thing, the more I don't care about what other people think, the more people agree with me. The more
yes,
attached to people need to approve of me or I'm going to be miserable, the more disapproval I magnetize because now I'm in scarcity instead of abundance. So
yes.
it's kind of
It's
like whatever.
it's amazing because it sounds like logically it should be the opposite, that if you
I
seek
know.
approval, you should get it, but actually it's when you stop seeking it that it comes to you, because don't really
I
care what
know.
people think of me. I conduct myself the best I can, and I have, beautiful thoughts about people and just hope everybody's, I'm very benevolent and I don't judge myself or others. So I just think, okay, I think as I don't judge others, I don't feel any judgment from them because I'm a bit Teflon with it, unless it's something I've maybe done at work and I think, okay, you want
Yeah.
people to, excel and to do well. So it's not like I'm not looking for improvement all the time, because I am. But yeah, it's a kind of difference, isn't it, of not really caring for the
Neutrality.
yeah, for the negative opinions of people saying unjustified things. I think if it's justified or honest, I'm so open for honest feedback. Even if it sounds offensive, I think, "Oh, no, I like that because I want that awareness. I want to be able to think of that." And then to question, are they just projecting? Have they got an agenda? Is it honest feedback? Can I learn from it? And I think that's something everybody can do,
Yeah.
is to accept. I don't think it's judgment. I think it's awareness. You're developing your own awareness of yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, and only we can decide who we are and why we came here. Like, that's my job to tell other people why I'm here and why I came here. That's not for other people to tell me why I'm here and
Yeah.
what I came for. It's like that's our job to figure out, the why. And to validate this point, I was just working with a client before I jumped on this call, and we're talking about how letting go ends up attracting everything that we want to us.
Yes.
It's the
Yeah.
opposite of what we've been taught. But a lot of people mistake letting go as not caring or being apathetic, which that's low consciousness. Those are
Yeah.
negative emotions. It's scarcity. So it's different when you're letting go in the trust, which is the opposite polarity of the fear and the anxiety, where you're like, I just trust it's going to work out. I'll be happy whether I get it or not. Then you end up magnetizing it to
Absolutely.
you. So it's kind of like when you go to the party and you're like, I want people to like me and I trust that they will, but I'll be happy no matter what.
Yeah.
Detach from it,
Yeah.
what happens? People think you're really cool, they're drawn to you, they really like what you have to say. You go to the party and you're like, I need people to like me or I'm gonna be so disappointed, or I'm a failure, or I'm a loser, or I'm gonna
Yeah.
be XYZ. Well, then energetically you go to the party and people just don't want to talk to you. Same
Yeah.
person, different energy, different outcome.
Exactly. Yeah, and it can be anywhere. It
Yeah.
could be at work, where you try too hard and you're too nicey to people in an environment, and then yeah, it's interesting how human nature reacts as well. All the different politics and everything that goes on in people's minds, and sometimes they don't even realize they're doing it. In organizations where there's a lot of politics and territorial
Mm,
reactions to things. And sometimes people aren't in it for the benefit of the company; they're in it for the scarcity mentality
ego.
permeates, yeah, and then it causes negative vibrations, and then it attracts negative things into the company as well as into people.
And how many people live their whole life in scarcity,
Yeah,
where it's like most people develop a life where there is, like running away from consequences rather than towards alignment. So they
yeah,
get their parents off their back, or they get married before they're 30 because they don't want people to judge them, or they have to do this job because then they won't have the money that they want to make, or I need to do this or I have to do that. So their whole life is just developed by fear. And then is there any wonder why depression comes online? Because we can't know what it's like to feel aligned without misalignment. So the depression is just a sign that you're misaligned, but then people think that that's reality, although it is a reality in a sense where that is the simulation that you've created in your mind of scarcity, but not the reality, meaning that you can select another reality to live in, focusing on your dreams, connecting to that, adopting an abundance mindset, and then the hologram changes.
yeah,
So it's like really finding how to get back on track, and not
yeah,
letting it be the rumble strip, to redirect to the road, like you were saying earlier, rather than driving on the rumble strip or off of the road when
yeah,
feeling negative into the woods.
yeah,
So it's really meant to be a redirection rather than a place to live. But a lot of us, myself included, in my past for a while, made it a home of the negative vibration. It's not a
yeah.
fun timeline at all, but hey.
Amazing, yes.
Mhm.
It's been a journey, hasn't it? And there's so much more to come. There really is. We're learning every single day more things of how we are, who we are, and what's going on in the world. It really is amazing.
And is there anything, any way that people can get in touch with you if
Oh,
they'd like
that's nice.
to, um, book a coaching call with you or explore, Max it or anything further?
Yes, of course. So my website is jill-sutherland.com. We can put it in the details underneath.
Yeah, for sure.
And I can talk to you about Maxit. My email is Jill. Well, we can put it in the comments, can't we? Because people might not
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying with my funny
Email her.
accent.
Yeah.
Just email me. Yes, and I'd love to speak to people. We really would love to share this message, and yeah, it's been an amazing journey, and we just want more people to join us and feel amazing in this life. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and, thanks for coming on, and you my very first guest, hopefully
Thank
many
you.
more to come.
Of course, I'm sure there will be.
Alright, take care. Bye.
Thank you so much.